Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome back to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 93. My name is Chris Hollifield. Thank you so much for joining me as I continue the journey around Salt Lake City, introducing you to the locals, professionals, musicians, everyday people in Salt Lake City that I believe are making the city what it is today. IamSaltLake.com is a website. Head on over to the website. You can find out more about this podcast and all of the information to get in touch with me. I got voicemail, email, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. All of the links are right there online. This episode, we talk a little bit more about bicycling here in Salt Lake City. I took the gear down to the Salt Lake City Bicycle Collective, located at 2312 Southwest Temple in Salt Lake City, Utah. Had the opportunity to sit down with Jorgen and Davey. We talk about the SLC Bike Collective. We talk about the Heart of Darkness alleycat that's coming up this upcoming Saturday, the 24th of August. We also talk about saltcycle.org and just bicycling in general. Really great episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And anyways, let's jump into that conversation that I had with Davey and Jorgen down at the SLC Bicycle Collective. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Anyways, we're recording on location at the SLC Bike Collective today. I have Jorgen and Davey. The location, 2312 Southwest Temple, for those of you that have not come down here. Great place, by the way, that you guys got going on here. And I want to get into that here in just a second. But I'm going to start off with, why don't you guys just kind of introduce yourself and the many different projects that you guys are involved in?
Well, my name is Jorgen, Michigan born. Been living in Salt Lake for 4 or 5 years now. Just kind of when I moved out here, I hit the ground running with the cycling community, hosting events, showing up to events, and just trying to get events going in whatever way I could. And in the past couple of weeks, since coming back to Salt Lake, I've taken over as an administrator at saltcycle.org, a local cycling community website. Also, I'm hosting an alleycat coming up in August, the Heart of Darkness, which is
August 24th.
August 24th, correct. Kind of a mainstay in the cycling scene here in Salt Lake. It's 5th year this year.
That particular event.
Yeah, this particular event.
Which I want to get more into. Tell a little bit more about that event, actually. I guess why we're talking about it right now. Like, how can people find out more about it, what it is? Share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, an alleycat is a form of unsanctioned bicycle racing. It was invented and popularized in Toronto and New York in the 80s. Racers receive a manifest right at the very beginning of the race that has a list of checkpoints. The winner can not only cycle the fastest, but also complete the checkpoints the best possible route.
Where does it start?
So it starts at the Capitol building, actually.
Excellent.
The very top of town. We meet up there at 2 p.m., do some registration, and shoot off about 2:45. And it goes all across town. I can't actually talk about the race specifically because there is this element of surprise to alleycats where no one except the organizer knows where the race is going to go, how long it's going to be, what you really need. Yeah.
And I talked a little bit with Nate when I with Velo City Bags about alleycats. I mean, I don't even know if we got into depth. I mean, where did that whole concept even come from? Alleycat, because there's quite a few different alleycat ideas. I mean, it's not just a Salt Lake thing, right? It's a bicycle type.
Yeah, it's all over. It's by no means just a Salt Lake thing. Like I said, in Toronto in the 80s, I think it was like 83 or something was the first alleycat that was labeled alleycat. Uh-huh. And as it's been explained to me, it was really just bike messengers settling scores, saying, I'm the fastest. No, I'm the fastest. Okay, well, let's race. How do we race? Only way we know how. We replicate our day-to-day job.
And it's the 24th, August 24th, meet at the Capitol at 2 o'clock. And is there registration?
Yep,
how much is it to
It's
be
$10 entry, which is pretty steep for an alleycat. But we have sponsors left and right, cash prizes, bag prizes, a little after party with libations of your choice. So the $10 gets you into a whole afternoon of fun. Yeah.
Which you can't beat, really. So,
Right.
And then Dave, is that pretty much cover what you're involved in then, Jorgen? Or
Nothing would even begin to cover what Jorgen's involved in.
He's so much.
Jorgen contains multitudes.
You're just a busy guy.
I'm a busy guy. I create my own fun. I create my own busy. I try not to rest.
Try not to rest. Well, we'll hop back over to you in just a second. Now, Davey, why don't you share what you're involved in,
Sure.
bicycle-wise, I guess, or anything else?
Well, I love hearing Jorgen talk for a number of reasons. One, he and I are both in the same spot where we're returning to Salt Lake after a while away, and we both have very deep roots here. But we both took some time off, and I got back 2 months ago. Jorgen got back 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. So you guys are really freshly back.
Freshly returned.
And where were you at, Davey?
I was in New York and in the Middle East doing film stuff and journalism stuff.
Okay.
I studied Arabic at the U and really thought I wanted to work internationally for my career. New York was the place to go to work on international documentaries, and I did a bit of that. And then I found out that there was this great opportunity to come home to Salt Lake, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But it's really great to come back to Salt Lake and sort of see where there are spaces for us to contribute to this place that we love and what people have invented and, built in the meantime that we can enjoy and be a part of. One of the reasons I left Salt Lake was because I didn't want to make everything, kind of like Jorgen said, I didn't want to always make my own fun. I didn't want to always be involved with the fun cultural events that were going on. And I came back and, there's tons of great stuff going on that I have nothing to do with, and I get to visit and check out and now start to be a part of in a new way. So what I came back to town for was to run the Bicycle Collective, which sort of taught me how to volunteer. It taught me how to engage with a group of people and find meaning in that. I was what's called a core volunteer, starting in about 2008. And core volunteer just meant you came down here all the time and you taught people how to work on bikes who didn't know how. And in return for that, you got, access to the shop whenever you wanted. So you could come in at midnight and build up a bike from scratch and dig around in the bins for that perfect little piece that turns it from being, a hunk of junk to a well-oiled machine. And I heard from New York that they were hiring an executive director. And I said, I've got to go back and do that. That's the one job I'd go home for. So here I am.
Here you are. And now how long is it? You said 2008. That's when the Bike Collective started, or?
No, it actually started, I want to say in 2002. It's about 11 years old. But it's grown from a little garage project, a passion project of about 5, bike advocates into a statewide nonprofit credited 501c3 with a budget and a board of directors. And, I've got a salary and I've got 9 employees, and that's kind of amazing for all of us that, came down and saw this punk bike shop in the late 2000s, you know.
And you said there's 5 locations, right?
Right. There's Westminster, University of Utah, Ogden, Provo, and this shop. And we're also scheming about other locations. It's really cool because we provide the administrative structure and the kind of, blueprint for those places. We say, look, this is what we found works. This is what we found doesn't. Here are some resources for you. Here's some examples of flyers. I just went in and chopped up our flyer a little bit for Ogden the other day so they can go out requesting bikes from their community. And, then we let them do whatever they want, because we're not trying to shape other shops in a certain way. We're just trying to make them grow as best fits their place. Mm-hmm. So the shop in Provo looks a lot like our shop looked in 2002, and the shop in Ogden looks a lot like our shop looked in 2008. You just watch it grow.
You're growing, and I mean, even coming in here, you had a class going on. I mean, so there's always classes going on here. I mean, what kind of stuff can people find here at the Bike Collective, like the average public person?
This place is kind of nuts because there's always
there's something going on.
There's literally always something going on. I mean, I've come in here at 1 a.m. and there's 2 volunteers in tank tops just sort of like fretting over a personal project because they've come in and worked themselves into the wee hours of the morning trying to solve their own bike problem. But our programs really are around the clock too. Owen wakes up at 7:30 in the morning and runs the Farmers Market Bicycle Valet. We do all the bicycle valets around Salt Lake. And so if you've ever parked your bike at, the Twilight Concert Series or the Arts Festival, you've parked your bike with us. We also teach a ton of kids classes. We bring kids in and just see the bike as this conduit to self-empowerment and a way to learn, as a young kid, that there is a logic to things. And if you put in the effort to take a hub that is loose and will damage itself, and you just tweak a few little things, it'll run for months without a problem. And if you teach a 10-year-old how to do that, they get imbued with some special skills and some special self-confidence that they might otherwise be lacking. We work with a lot of underprivileged kids. So those kids will come in, they'll take a bike apart to the every single individual component. They'll put it all back together till it runs well. And at the end, they take that bike home. They earn the bike after they build it. So instead of saying, that's my bike, they say, that's my bike.
And a little more proud of it because they put the time and the effort into building it,
And we almost, it's an interesting thing because we are a community centered around a material object, and sometimes people get a little lost in that. They get, your prototypical bike nerd sort of lusts after the shiny stuff and says, oh, I want this, vintage thing with this material and these components, and it's going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, we're working on building skills for people and relationships between people and solving problems for people with an object. So for kids, if you show them how that object comes apart and goes back together, the object is special, but not because of its material, but because of what they put into it. And I kind of like that.
It must be a rewarding place to work to see people teaching themselves a skill. What would you say the most challenging thing of being part of the bike collective, or is there any challenging things?
Well, there's a lot of challenges with it. There's a lot of rewards to it as well. You have to constantly set aside your societal preconceived notions about where somebody's coming from. We'll have volunteers who just got out of prison, are inarticulate, have substance abuse issues, aren't very good at controlling their emotions and tempers, and they need resources just as much as anyone else. And you can see those people transform into responsible contributors to a society or to a community that values them. We have homeless volunteers that come in every day, and this is their structure, and they are patient, and they learn teaching skills, and they learn delegation skills, and they learn to defer their own questions. And that's really amazing to see. One of the challenges and one of the exciting things at the same time is you never know where anything's coming from. To a certain extent, you build relationships. We build relationships with the Salt Lake Police Department, and with we're working on one with UTA right now, for example. Or we build a relationship with IRC, the International Rescue Committee, where they'll send in needy people and we'll get them outfitted with bikes. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we are entirely dependent on donated bikes from the community and from the institutions of the community. And I know that there are 15 refugees that want bikes this Friday, and I don't know where those 15 bikes are going to come from unless something magical happens, and something does every week, and it's crazy.
So people can donate their used bikes to you guys.
Yep.
I mean, how can somebody listening, how can they get involved with the SLC Bike Collective? I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of ways. Share some of those ways.
There's tons of ways, and we're always looking for more too. You can come down to the shop and bring any old bike stuff that you're not using, whether it's the most rickety department store bike on planet Earth. We can take that and put it in a stand and show somebody who has no mechanical aptitude what happens when they take all the pieces off of it. So they learn by disassembly, just like kids do with pocket watches when they're 4. You can also bring in a custom-built bike, made out of the fanciest technology ever, and we'll sell that bike for $900, $1,200, and that bike will fund countless other bikes that we give away for free. In a given year, we'll get about 1,400 to 1,700 bikes donated. We'll sell 400 to 500 of those, and that will fund most everything we do. And then with the bulk of them, we'll either give away to kids' classes or to the needy, or let people earn them through work trade. So bringing in a bike, bringing in an old set of tubes, bringing in dish rags, toothbrushes, cleaning supplies will keep us running, and we love it. We're open business hours to take those donations, and we have things going late into the evening most nights. If you want to get involved in terms of volunteering, you can do the bike valet, go down, hang out at the Twilight Concert Series. We always need more people. You hustle around parking 500 of the wittiest, nerdiest, coolest bikes in town. You get to check them all out and chat with the other volunteers and kind of run and drink occasional drinks of water and watch the concert out of the corner of your eye. And then when it calms down, we all stand on the perimeter of the dog park fence where we get to park bikes down in Pioneer Park and watch a song or two, and you feel like you've achieved something, and everyone else is just kind of sweaty and claustrophobic.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I came to this concert for a reason instead of just to come down and do nothing.
So that's really cool. But then every single person, we're a shop with 670 volunteers or something like that last year, and 9 employees, and the employees are mostly part-time. Those 670 volunteers ran the valet, taught the kids classes, took kids on mountain bike rides, built all the kids' bikes that we gave away, and taught each other how to work on bikes when they didn't know. So after volunteering for a while, you can become a core mechanic where you know enough to share your knowledge with other people. And it doesn't take much. I was a core mechanic after a few months of starting to work on bike stuff, just because I knew how to fix a flat and keep bearings and loose ball hubs from being too loose or too tight. And once you do that, you can share that skill with somebody who's never taken apart a bike before, and they'll appreciate it, even if it's a small thing. So the best way to get involved is either call our shop. Our number is 801-FAT-BIKE, or get on our website, and on the right there's a little entry thing for your email. You can get on our mailing list, and every Monday I sort of say, hey, these are our volunteer opportunities. We need more people to build kids' bikes. We need more people to go to Twilight. We need somebody to donate a desk lamp. I don't know.
Or you can come down here and buy a bike. Like if you're in the market, like I'm kind of in the market to buy a bike, come down and buy a bike. And I mean, do you usually have a pretty good selection of bikes for sale, or how does that usually work?
I forgot to even mention that our entire revenue stream, like I said, is dependent on donated bikes. And we have every variety of donated bike. We have the $60 trundle around town, not too flashy, a little bit of rust everywhere, low end bike, to a racing bike or a racing mountain bike. Just depends on what people brought in the door. And we tune it up with help of our volunteers, and then everything is bottom lined by professional mechanics that we pay. So you're getting a bike that's going to run. It's used, it might have some problems, but we have an open shop night where you can come in and we'll show you how to fix those little problems as they arise. So if you pick up a $150 bike from us and you decide that you want more efficient tires, you don't want knobby tires, you want slick ones that roll really fast, come in here, you can buy the tires for $12 and we'll show you how to throw them on there. And next time you get a flat, you don't go, I hate bikes. You go, oh cool, I think I can deal with this. The other...
I think that's, from my experience with bikes, is it seems like I get into the wrong bike. Mm-hmm. I go out and I buy a bike and I'm like, gosh, this isn't any fun. But then you see somebody like yourself, gosh, you could tell you really enjoy bicycling.
Right. And I started where you are at,
and it's like, okay, so how do you know where to start? Mm-hmm. How do you know what kind of bike to get? How do you know where to even go that somebody's not going to rip you off? I'm assuming here is a safe spot to.
Well, it is. There are definitely better deals out there. If you're super bike savvy, you can hop on KSL and there's that one gem that's undervalued and you can buy it really fast. But if you don't know what you're doing, our bikes are all valued according to what they are and priced by mechanics. And our prices are a little bit lower than other places because we're a nonprofit. If our bikes aren't to your liking, there are tons of really great local bike shops that sell amazing equipment. And I definitely started with a bike from here, and then I went and bought a bike from a local bike shop because it was perfect and it was fancy and it took me on a bike tour and I needed something really dependable. So there's a whole scale there. But the short answer to, how do I start is trial and error. And we are a low risk in the trial and error scheme because you can come in here and get something cheap and see if it works for you. And we have expert mechanics and expert bike fit people on staff who can say, based on their own lived experience, well, I like an 80s mountain bike as a commuter because you can, put slick tires on it and you can put a rack on it and you can carry your books with it. And Jorgen might say, well, I like, 10 speed stripped down to a single speed with upright bars as a commuter because it's light and it's fast, but it's not too much hassle. So everyone's going to have a different solution to the same problem. And we all love what we do. So we'll talk to you about what the conclusions we've come to.
Yeah, and even, how tall you are, how short you are. I mean, that plays such an important role. What got for both of you guys, what got you into cycling? I mean, in general, like what got you so interested in it?
For me personally, I always had a bike. Like, I come from a family that did lots of boating back in Michigan, and we always had my bike on board. And I don't know, as long as I can remember,
You've just always been biking.
Yeah, I always had a bike around. I guess more recently, I was into mountain biking, cross-country mountain biking. And then, just one day, I befriended a guy at a bike shop, and he's like, check out this thing. It's called a fixed gear. That really hooked me into the bike community. That's got me thinking like, oh, this is actually something I can do all the time. This isn't just some trivial pastime. Like, this is actually a form of transportation. Can be a lifestyle if you want it to be. And I've since evolved from just riding a converted 10-speed fixed gear. But that's definitely what hooked me into it. Just realizing that this was a thing. This was a very big thing. What
about you, Davey?
The easy answer is my stepdad was a bike nerd, and he was also a psychologist. My dad was a motorcyclist, and I got into motorcycles through my dad. And my stepdad said, whoa, those are way too dangerous. This thing's a lot safer. So my stepdad gave me my first 10-speed road bike, and I had ridden mountain bikes as a kid, but it was through him that I started commuting to high school at about 15 or something like that. The reason it stuck with me and the reason that I still like bikes is I'm the kind of person who always looks for exceptions that make your life kind of almost like, I played video games as a kid, almost like bonus combos, things that you can do that benefit multiple aspects of your life. So here's this thing, keeps me in shape, lowers my stress, gets me around, is still like, can be still done with some swag. Like you can still ride a bike and like have a great time, and people will like love and respect that you like are into this thing, but you can make it your own however you want to. Along the way, you'll like make all these friends, and you'll smell the fresh air, and you'll get stronger, and you'll feel self-empowered. I mean, I remember the first time I went on a bike tour, I bought a $25 bike that was a piece of junk, and everything that could have gone wrong with it went wrong with it, and it just sort of rattled along and had all these problems. And I think I burnt the brakes out when I was going down a big mountain thing, and everything melted. But it was in that ride that I sussed out my path in life for the next 5 years, because I was just pedaling up a mountain, and I was like, okay, I've got to go to college. I think I was 17 or 19 or something like that. I was like, I've got to go to college, and I've got to get a scholarship. And if I'm going to get a scholarship, I've got to write this kind of essay, and these are the ones that I'm going to apply for. And I just like mapped it out in my head because I was achieving something on a human scale, and it made all of the other challenges in my life more achievable. That's just like a kind of little example.
A little take. And you guys have both been biking ever since.
Yeah.
Now, you've been around to other states, obviously. You both kind of moved away, came back. Would you say that Salt Lake City is a pretty bike-friendly city? I mean, it appears so, in my opinion. Why do you think it is such a bike-friendly city? Do you think there's any reasoning behind that? Or?
Wide streets.
And I've heard that.
Yeah,
it's actually a really big deal. That's by no means the only thing, but recently I was in New Zealand, and New Zealand's not too bike-friendly. They're definitely making strides, but a really big problem they face is very, very skinny, small, unplanned, or poorly planned streets. Salt Lake, I mean, we planned them out. It's a grid system. It's easy to find your way around. And we have streets that are 4 lanes, turning lane, and parking lane. If you take out one of those lanes and put in a dual bike carriageway, nothing happens. Like, you get bikes on the street, but the traffic is unaffected. And that's a really big advantage that we have over many other cities.
Do you find that you can get somewhere just as quick on a bike? I've heard you can actually sometimes get places quicker on a bike versus a car. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
would you
you-
say that's true? Or
Yeah, you really can. When I was a gung-ho teenager, I would pretty much race my friends around. They would all pile in the car and I'd jump on my bike, and I'd get there pretty sweaty if it was like up a hill or something like that, but I'd usually get there first. You are talking to two ex-gung-ho messengers. We're both pretty fast, but everyone's reasonably fast on a bike because there are no unexpected variables. There's no such thing as traffic on a bike. There aren't really even such things as closed streets. You can usually go on the sidewalk for a minute or two if there's construction or something like that. So the distance to point X is always the distance to point X. And if I get there in 10 minutes, it's because I pushed myself hard and my heart rate's beating and I sort of am sweating a little bit. And if I get there in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I'm at a moderate pace and I'm breathing regularly and I haven't sweated through my work shirt.
Yeah, and that point, like you really do away when you start cycling to whatever work. You really do away with I need to be there by 7:45, so I better, and it takes me 20 minutes, but I better plan for 40 minutes just in case. You do away with that just in case for the most part,
because of like are you talking about because of traffic?
Because of traffic,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You want to factor in maybe 5 minutes for a flat tire or something, but that doesn't happen too often. And if you come down here and talk to us, you can learn how to fix that really quickly. But if it takes you 20 minutes to get to work, it takes you 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And like Davey says, if you push yourself, maybe it's 10 minutes, or maybe that 20 minutes slowly progresses to becoming 10 minutes, and you can wake up 10 minutes later.
Do you guys bike through the winter and everything?
We do. It's an interesting thing. I really love biking through the winter. I grew up skiing, and for me, skiing sort of transitioned into biking because I could still get out, play in the snow, slide around a little bit, but I was also still commuting, and it was more affordable when I was a broke college student. But I think that if you picture winter commuting, people picture biking through a blizzard. I don't think you should bike through a blizzard your first 2 years of biking. I think you should bike on the other 115 days of winter that don't have blizzards because the roads are relatively clear. Once you get up and running, your blood starts circulating, you stay warm. All you need is a decent pair of gloves, maybe some eye protection, and a bike with fenders on it so you don't get a bunch of slush up on you from the road. And then you just take it day by day like anything else. I don't think anyone should start bike commuting thinking, okay, I'm going to throw away my car now because I'm going to have to bike 15 to 20 miles every day. And if I need to carry a watermelon, I'm going to get a trailer. I think you should do it in steps, and you'll find that you have to carry watermelons more infrequently than you think. And you find that it's not a blizzard as often as you think. And the other 299 days out of the year, you bike, and the days that you need to go to Home Depot, you take the car, and it works out.
It all works out. Now, I know we briefly touched on saltcity.org, the website. Talk about that website a little bit. What can people find there?
Yeah, so saltcycle.org started in 2007.
Or was I saying Salt City?
Yeah, that's right.
Saltcycle.org.
Lots of salt somethings in this.
Oh, there's so many salt. We're in Salt Lake
everything.
City. Gosh.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Anyways, saltcycle.org.
Yeah, so saltcycle.org started with this guy, Corey Zed Bailey. Zed. He's a bit of an enigma. He's moved up to the Northwest now. But he started it as kind of a headquarters for bikes here in Salt Lake. And it's evolved over the years. It was doing really well for a while, and then kind of fell by the wayside when it turned to a forum, and people didn't like that. And then Davey actually brought it back up to speed in 2009. Mm-hmm. Turned it to a more blog-based website where articles could be posted and there could be community feedback. And it's been that way ever since, up until now. It's just really evolved to be this kind of...
It's just a good resource for bicycling, I guess.
Yeah, it's a great resource for the community in many ways. It's a great place to go and find events. It's a great place to go and read about bikes, read about what other cities are doing with bikes, what other countries are doing with bikes, and what we're doing with bikes. The previous administrator, now an editor, Tom, has done great work posting about the 30s cycle way and things like that, because he was directly involved with those sort of things. And so it's really evolved to being this like really accessible, excellent information source in many a way. And I'm currently redoing it slightly to make it more, to add more community involvement, especially on the side of events. Because we also have a Facebook group. This is a Salt Cycle Facebook group that gets a lot of traffic. It has almost 1,000 members.
Wow.
Constant traffic. But the translation to the website is lost, and the translation to the real world is also lost. And so I'm working towards involving the community more in the website, which will hopefully kind of add a little bit of translation to the real world, where these events that just kind of get tossed around on the Facebook group actually become events, and then actually become regular bike rides or just a one-off bike ride.
So you can almost find out about events outside of Salt Lake then, or is it just in Salt Lake?
Well, as far as events go,
it's just Salt Lake, yeah.
Maybe a few Provo or Ogden events get thrown on there here and there. But as far as learning more about stuff outside of Salt Lake, that's more like cycle infrastructure and cycle advocacy.
Have you guys ever biked across the United States or anything?
Yeah, we actually tried to together, and we got distracted.
You got along the way.
We biked the Blue Ridge Parkway from Washington D.C. towards New Orleans together, and at one point, I had a girlfriend who was living in New York at the time, and she wanted to meet me in New Orleans. So she said, "Hey, I'm flying down on this date." And I sort of said to Jorgen, "I'm going to hurry down to New Orleans now to see my girlfriend." And he was like, "I don't really want to bike through these like boring flat expanses at 100 miles a day for no reason." So we split off, but we rode like 1,200 miles together on that trip.
Yeah, something ridiculous. And through the Appalachian Mountains, which if you've never been out there, there's no such thing as flat. It is up or down. It was a treat. It was wonderful. And I split off and then came out here for a couple of weeks, and then biked the Pacific Coast Highway from Portland out and then down to San Francisco,
which is the greatest bike tour in the United States.
Definitely.
There are campsites every 10 to 15 miles. So if you get really ambitious and you want to go 60 miles instead of 45, there's a campsite destination. And the roads are varied from like straight shot highways to winding canyons. And I feel like Oregon was designed by some kind of like a benevolent, deity that just really likes the reveal of the coastline. So you bike up and around a corner, and there's just like these epic craggy cliffs that are all shady, and unlike in a car, you kind of see every inch of it and you feel like you've earned every inch of it. So you get to the edge of this epic misty cliff, and there's birds wheeling in some house that like Edgar Allan Poe lives in, and you just stand on the edge of this cliffside and you're like, "I am alive, I am a man or woman." It's pretty cool.
I love it. I always ask people when they come on, obviously we're in Salt Lake City. Besides bicycling, what are some other things you like about Salt Lake City? I'm always curious, people I bring on the show, what are some of their favorite things about the city?
Cycling is definitely like a really big draw for me, but the mountains are amazing. And the desert being so close. Like moving from Michigan, I was a sworn water person. Like I need a boat, I need a body of water near me at all times. And I spent a few years out here and played in the mountains and played in South Central Utah. And that's just such a huge draw. I've been traveling for a bit now, and there are very few cities out there that you can exist in a city. We may not be the largest city in the world, but we definitely are a city. But, how long is the ride to Emigration Canyon? 10 minutes. You can hike up Dry Creek. You can't see the city, you can't hear the city, you can't smell the city. There's not too many places that you can do that. And that's a huge draw for me.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
What about you over there?
So I spent a long time, not really. I'm 26, but for me, a long time in New York, like a year and a half. And everyone in New York was always like, "Oh man, you got to try this. This is the best. This is the best spaghetti you'll ever have. This is the best sandwich you'll ever have. It's so good. Isn't it good? Isn't it good?" And it was okay. Like it was fine. And sometimes it was really good. And you paid like $23 for a sandwich or something like that. But
$23 for a sandwich.
Oh yeah, like every day, no problem. No, New York's expensive, but it's pretty.
Hopefully, it's a big sandwich.
Big tall sandwich.
Yeah.
But food is so good in Salt Lake, and you can get decent stuff at decent prices all over town. Bands are so good in Salt Lake, and touring bands are so good in Salt Lake. You can see great shows at the Shred Shed or Kilby Court or wherever for $5. Shopping for the things that you need to live and just like getting the stuff that you need to get through the community or through secondhand stores or whatever is so accessible, and it's all really great stuff. Just being a human in Salt Lake is not very hyped, and it's very good. The apartments, I'm looking at a house right by the library right now that is it's like $900 a month or something like that. And it's like wood floors, backyard, 5 rooms, basement, subway tile, clawfoot tub, beautiful place. And, I could get like a shoebox filled with dirt for that in New York, and that's about it,
And plus, not only that, you get swallowed up in a city like New York. In Salt Lake, it's like you could breathe. It's easy to meet people. People here are nice. It's easy to get noticed, if you want to do something, and yeah, I mean, it's a great city to live in. Great city.
That's kind of a side point, but you can contribute to this community and it'll notice.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that's what's great about Salt Cycle, the collective. They're about bicycling, but they're conduits to a better community. And whatever your conduit is, I feel like that's what's great about your podcast is it's touching on all these people that are, actively working to make their world a little bit more interesting and a little bit more loving and better connected and more functional in a fun way. And bikes may have, to bring it full circle back to the alleycat Jorgen was talking about at the beginning, alleycats are this specific niche thing, and this one is the king of the alleycats in Salt Lake. It is
the Heart of Darkness.
The Heart of Darkness is so hard, and it's meant to be so hard. It's 30 to 50 miles each time.
What?
It's multiple manifests. It's usually on a hot day. It's ruthless. It's only for the hardcore bike nerds. But bicycles and Salt Cycle and the collective are not for hardcore bike nerds. They're for everybody who uses bikes, just like everyone in the world has to wake up and put on a t-shirt and go about their life finding meaning. Bikes are just a part of that. And we've found a way to connect people to that in a variety of different fun ways that makes our life, our lives really interesting. So I welcome anyone else to hop on board and find their spot or make their own thing and tell us about it.
That's awesome. So Heart of Darkness, August 24th, 2:00, meet at the Capitol. Is there a website or anything that people can find out more information about that? And again, like you said, though, it's for the pretty hardcore. So if you're just a light biker, you might not want to do it or what?
I hope undersell your race.
Right.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
Yes and no. Yeah, it's definitely for the hardcore. Like the dude who's going to win is probably going to have shaved legs or something.
The dude who's going to win is sitting in this room.
I love it.
But I've already got a couple of friends coming out that aren't too interested in racing, or at least not being hardcore, and they're just forming a team.
Yeah.
When it all boils down to a big scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I've got local businesses on board that are stops as well as sponsors. I've got lots of really fun checkpoints that people just don't know about, like really obscure alleyways that people honestly just don't know about. Maybe some of them do, and so. I've got some friends coming out that aren't quick and don't want to be quick, and they're bringing out a couple of friends, getting in a group, having a beer, and they're going to have some fun. Maybe they finish, maybe they won't. They'll come to the after party. It'll be a blast.
He's totally right, actually. Like, that is a huge part of this thing. There will be people who are in it to win it, but what an excuse to just wander around your city with a purpose and see a lot of fun stuff and kind of be on a mission for no reason. Mm-hmm. They're really fun. And if you go out with 10 people and you have a good attitude and you ride comfortable upright bikes, it's just as fun or just as interesting as if you hammer away on your race bike and try to win the thing.
Definitely. It's a great way to learn about your own city. When I didn't do any alleycats when I was in New York, I kind of regret it because it is a really fun way to learn a new city. So anyone out there that's new to Salt Lake, you're going to know if you don't quite know your way around yet, if you do this alleycat, you're going to be pro afterwards.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people live here and don't explore the city as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I like to incorporate the west side.
Yeah.
People are they generally just don't travel across the tracks. But there's some really, really amazing things over there. So that's...
For all you listeners, that's a hint.
Yeah.
Well, how can people find out about you? Or is there anything else you want to add? Or was there some more stuff you were going to say?
We're on Salt Cycle. We're on Twitter at Heart of Darkness or Heart of Dark SLC. And then we've got a Squarespace website set up, just kind of with some information on it, race information, registration, etc. And that's just heartofdarkness.squarespace.com.
And then the SLC Bike Collective, how can people find that?
Jump on bicyclecollective.org and sign up for our mailing list. Otherwise, we've got a pretty active Facebook page. Just search Salt Lake Bicycle Collective on Facebook. And then I do a lot of Instagramming at Bicycle Collective. And I'd love to see you on there. Whimsical little pictures of bike stuff around Salt Lake and the occasional thing. But there's always ways to get involved here.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and talking. I mean, I was really stoked to when Jorgen reached out, and said, "Hey, you want to talk bicycling?" I said, "Let's do it.
We can talk bike.
Yeah. So, anyways, anything else you want to add before we close?
I think you should come in and get a bike from us someday. And thanks for doing this.
You bet. Thank you. Many thanks goes out to Jorgen and Davey for coming on the podcast and sharing a little more information about bicycling here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Check out the SLC Bicycle Collective. Again, their address is 2312 Southwest Temple. Bicyclecollective.org is their website. Check out saltcycle.org. Check out the Heart of Darkness alleycat going on this upcoming Saturday here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I got all the links at iamsaltlake.com/93. Feel free to share this episode with your family and friends. If you're on iTunes, feel free to rate, comment, review this episode, as well as subscribe to any future episodes. You can call up the voicemail line 385-202-5926 if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to say hello. Better yet, iamsaltlake.com is a website. Follow me on Twitter at iamsaltlake. And I'll be back again on Thursday with another episode showcasing someone or something in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.